Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Tuesday, December 21st, 2020, and today we're going to be talking about the 2022 governor elections and actually talking about two Republicans in particular, Governor Doug Ducey of Arizona and Governor Brian Kemp of Georgia. So here are all of the states that have certified their presidential election results. We'll actually go a little bit more in depth about this in a future video. But as you can see now that Arizona and Georgia are amongst the states on the Democratic side that have certified. Now, Donald Trump actually blasted Governor Doug Ducey through his Twitter attacks, talking about the state of Arizona. He says that Doug Ducey betrayed Arizona citizens, and that many Arizona citizens that do believe that Donald Trump won the election are attacking Governor Ducey, saying that he said that he would not certify the results pending any litigation. There is no pending litigation, but to that point also, there is no voter fraud. But also, the state of Arizona, this state almost voted for Donald Trump, and it makes sense as to why a lot of these supporters would be upset that Governor Doug Ducey did certify the election results. If you're a voting bloc that believes you won the election, I do not blame you per se that you are upset that the election result is certified if you truly believe you won the election, but there's still no evidence provided by the Trump campaign. They're 1 in 38 now, I think, in court cases. There really is just nothing going for the Trump campaign at this point, and the electors are going to going to vote in just a little bit over 2 weeks, or maybe under 2 weeks. I don't know the exact timetable, but yeah. That's besides the point. Let's stop focusing on the electors and actually focus on what this actually means for Republicans moving forward. Because as you can see from that title, Doug Ducey probably isn't too worried about Donald Trump. He is not able to run for re-election. Here's the map of all of the governorships up in 2022. It's in fact the same exact map as 2018. So look at Arizona. It's actually a little bit darker red because this is a state where the incumbent governor is either retiring or term limited. In the case of Doug Ducey, he is actually term limited. He was reelected back in 2018 with 56% of the vote, and by the Arizona Constitution, cannot run for a third term. So I think that Republicans in Arizona are unhappy with Doug Ducey, but he doesn't care. It realistically does not matter. I think it mattered if he was going to run in the 2022 Senate elections, which he actually may have been eyeing up, but I don't see him getting past the primary process, nor do I see him beating Mark Kelley with this display of non-support from President Trump. So right now we see Arizona. This state has ample possibilities of Democrats picking it up in the 2022 governor elections. And I think that with this, I think that Doug Ducey may have actually ended up for lack of a better term, screwing over the Republican Party in this state. Now, obviously, he was at some point going to certify the election results. Arizona was going to be certified. The state has not seen a single change in the vote in this state whatsoever, so it makes sense that they have certified. There's been no proof of voter fraud. Really, the only thing the Trump campaign has provided is absolutely nothing. So I don't think that it would make sense for Doug Ducey to hold it up any longer. But if he was thinking politically, he probably could not have. Probably could have tried to push it off a little bit longer, but in Arizona and in Georgia, the governor is not supposed to directly interject in the outcome of the elections, obviously, but also in the election affairs whatsoever. So let's move over to Georgia. Why is Georgia in the spotlight recently? Well, first things first, like Arizona, Georgia flipped for the first time since Bill Clinton. And there are two Senate races actually up in Georgia. And with Donald Trump attacking Brian Kemp, the governor of this state, for certifying the election results, this is something that Brad Raffensperger, the incumbent Republican, might I add, Republican Georgia Secretary of State, was attacked for by President Trump. And now Brian Kemp, who signed off on this certification, is being attacked by the President of the United States. And this could actually end up being a time where Stacey Abrams swoops in and launches her 2022 governor bid. Because Brian Kemp can run again in 2022. He absolutely can run again. In 2018, he almost lost. This was one of the best performances for a Democrat in modern history in Georgia, especially statewide. They've had better performances in localized, congressional elections that are traditionally Republican, but Stacey Abrams came very close, within 2 percentage points of winning the governorship back in 2018. And then 2022 rolls around, and you see that Brian Kemp, the incumbent governor, actually has the possibility of being primaried by Doug Collins, who ran in the Georgia Senate election. He was a former representative. So Doug Collins, I actually recognize his name. I'm going to go ahead and go to his Wikipedia page really quickly because I believe that I guess he decided to not run, or he ran in 2018. and then decided to run for this. I guess I've just heard his name for whatever reason prior to this, but Doug Collins actually could run in 2022 and actually has a very real possibility of primarying Brian Kemp. Now, Doug Collins may not be the best person to do it, given that his history right now with Kelly Loeffler is that he is not as conservative as her, and that she was attacking him for not being in full support of President Trump, for supporting Mitt Romney. So there's a possibility that Doug Collins does get attacked on that end from the Trump wing of the Republican Party. But Brian Kemp is being vilified by the President of the United States, someone that he endorsed. We see a number of Republicans, including the president, saying that they regret the endorsement of Brian Kemp in 2018. That is very substantial. This is a Senate race. This is a governor race that really matters for the Republican Party, because this is actually, after these January 5th elections, we could see 2 Democratic senators from Georgia. Now, I don't think that we will see 2 Democratic senators at this point. Things can change, though, with a little bit over a month to go until those elections. But for the 2022 governor elections, I think this would probably be one of the last stands for the Georgia GOP if it's on a similar trajectory as Virginia. Now, many people don't think so. Many people think that Georgia is just going to return to being a Republican state, and it very well could be, but it also could become the next Virginia. Taking a look at this certification result, it isn't exactly the most deafening margin for the Democratic Party. This is a 0.3% margin to victory. But keep in mind, Donald Trump won this state by 5 points in 2016. So this is a very significant swing. This is something the Democratic Party was very happy with. And with Donald Trump now attacking Republican governors in Arizona and Georgia, they are eyeing up both of these seats for possible victories in 2022. Let's go ahead and see what happens if Georgia and Arizona move over to the Democratic Party, because that's a very real possibility. Assuming every other state stays the same, which it probably won't, given that we have my governor, Larry Hoggan, retiring in Maryland. It's probably going to return to the Democrats. We could see Republicans winning back Kansas, polarization, down ballot voting, whatever it might be. But Georgia and Arizona, if everything remains the same, that would actually put the Democrats at 25-25. That's one of the best positions they've been in the 21st century. And that would actually just fill out the map with a little bit more blue than what we were used to. And at the end of the day, Georgia and Arizona, these are 2 states that the Republican Party has had such a strong grip on for the past few decades, that if this goes to the Democratic Party, this could actually be the start of something that would never end for the GOP. Ask them about what happened in Virginia. Ask them about what happened in Minnesota recently. Ask them about what happened in Colorado. You see, these states were all in contention for the GOP at some point. Minnesota more recently, Colorado and Virginia more so 2012, 2016, 2008. And then this election, they moved significantly. Minnesota's +7 for Biden, which is actually the narrowest of them all, surprisingly. Virginia is Biden +10.1. Colorado is +12. Double-digit victories in 2 out of the 3 states, and very large victories in Minnesota and, all around the country. New Mexico as well. Double-digit in New Mexico. Maine, now reaching back up to where it was previously. The Democratic Party is expanding in some of these states that were previously competitive. Prior to Bill Clinton, I believe, actually, Maine was a very traditionally Republican state. Vermont had voted for the Republican Party for the longest time. It didn't even vote for FDR for the longest time. And obviously things change and things happen overnight. But I think if Georgia and Arizona, and these states are lost by the Republican Party in the governorship in 2022, I think it's gone for them in 2026 and also some future elections. Because if the Democrats do get in power here, they are going to try to make it easier for a lot of their constituents to vote. It's no secret that it's much harder to vote in Georgia than it is to vote in my home state. That's because of voter suppression laws. And whether or not they were intentionally made to target a certain race or target a certain area, they do disproportionately affect minorities. And that is a fact. That is not some type of liberal conspiracy. I don't think I'm outside of my margin by saying that. I think that is well within what we talk about here on Let's Talk Elections. That is a very real thing. And I think that if the Democratic Party does get in power here, we could see the Democratic Party making it easier for their own constituents to vote, which in turn would actually make the state bluer. So not only would this be a display of support for the Democratic Party that, yes, the Democrats can win in these states, and Donald Trump is only helping that. States that have just turned blue, Donald Trump is only helping that. At this point, we could also see, besides this, oh wow, it's blue more than just once, but also the possibility that this new governorship, if it is to take into effect, Stacey Abrams or Katie Hobbs in Arizona, that these 2 states could now be more Democratic. And that would make all the difference in future presidential elections, because we saw how close it was in this one, in both of these states. Same exact margins. I think Arizona was slightly ahead of Georgia. Georgia was 0.25. Arizona, I think, was 0.33. But both round either down or up to 0.3. So same type of margin. Gave Joe Biden 306 electoral votes, gave him the additional 27 that he needed on top of the 278 I believe he got through the Rust Belt, or maybe 279 because he won Nebraska's 2nd district. But then again, he also lost Maine's 2nd district, so I don't know the exact number right there. But overall, President Trump attacking an incumbent governor in Arizona. Sure, some Republicans may not care because that governorship was already up. That was already an open seat. But Doug Ducey was probably going to run in 2022, but now that he's been attacked, it's probably going to be a little bit more difficult for him to get out of the primary. But then again, he did run ahead of Martha McSally, a Trump-endorsed candidate, did run ahead of House Republicans in Arizona, did run ahead of many other Republicans, including President Trump, in the state of Arizona with this 2018 result. In a Democratic wave year, in a year the Democratic Party won more seats than Republicans in the House of Representatives in Arizona, in a year where the Democratic Party sent the first Democratic senator in quite some time from Arizona, the first female senator from Arizona in Arizona history, Doug Ducey won with 56% of the vote on that same exact ballot, which means there was crossover, which means he did have a lot of support from Republicans. And while that may be shattered, that may be hurt, he still has a somewhat reliable voting base that could get him around 30 to 40% in any primary, and probably around 30 to 40 to 50% in any general election. So I think at the end of the day, Doug Ducey may be a little bit upset because he probably was going to run for Senate against Mark Kelley. But still, I think that this race should be something that this governor race is something that's going to be contended whatsoever. Contended regardless of President Trump's attacks, but this just doesn't help the GOP. And looking at the Georgia race, we have two Republicans up for re-election. Well, not necessarily re-election, considering Kelly Loeffler is not elected, appointed. Two Republicans that are incumbents, I should say. Two incumbent Republicans in the state of Georgia that are running for Senate. And at this point, it is anybody's game. I think the Republicans are favored, but it's not a done deal. Normally, after a presidential election, everyone would be done. We would be talking about how there would be moving into the transition. But because President Trump has still not accepted the election results, still has not conceded the election to Joe Biden, Republicans who are saying that the election has either been done, or Republicans that are saying that there was voter fraud, we're seeing a very big difference, and we're seeing a divide in the Republican Party. And that's happening in Georgia. The statewide officials are saying, we trust our election process. The senators and the representatives are saying, we don't. The president is saying, we don't. And in a state that didn't even vote for President Trump, I can't imagine why the two Republican incumbents would cling on to this idea that the results were not fair, that the results were not, that the election was not held the way that it should be in Georgia, especially held by Republicans. It just doesn't play into the party imaging. They are agreeing more with President Trump than the party that elected them in the first place. Because Georgia has shown us they don't like Donald Trump. They did not vote for him in this election. Yes, it was narrow, and yes, Republicans will always need that Trump base. But you can't win just off the Trump base, as Donald Trump has just shown us. You cannot win just off the Trump base. It is very possible that David Perdue has in fact lost voters, that Kelly Loeffler has in fact lost voters by saying that the election was rigged, that agreeing with President Trump wholeheartedly that the election was rigged, because what that does is that pushes off more centrist Republicans, more right-leaning independents who didn't like Trump, but were okay with David Perdue and were iffy about Kelly Loeffler, that are now seeing David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler jump onto Donald Trump. And Donald Trump bash Brian Kemp. Republicans that voted for this governor may not be too happy with that. Republicans that were fine with Brad Raffensperger may not be too happy with that. And this is making it worse for Republicans both on the Senate level, so it may not be as bad as Arizona, but also on the governor level. Because now that Brian Kemp could be primaried, if he's primaried, it's a Democratic pickup. If he's not, it's a Democratic pickup. Now, that may be way too early to say that, but I do think that Stacey Abrams is going to go into this 2022 election with an advantage. Even in a Republican wave year, it's very possible because she's shown us that even in a year that wasn't super favorable to Democrats, look at the down ballot races, that she was able, maybe not single-handedly, obviously with help from a lot of people, but she laid out the grassroots efforts. And I think a lot of Democrats are starting to recognize her efforts in Georgia, her ability to make the state bluer, and make it actually a blue state on the presidential level for the first time since 1992. I think because of these attacks now on what we see on Brian Kemp and we see on Doug Ducey, these are going to be lasting. These are going to be used in attack ads in a year from now. And we are going to see very brutal primaries between Trump Republicans and traditional Republicans. And it's going to come down to a point where maybe either of them can win or maybe neither of them can win, especially in Georgia and Arizona, which have showed us this election that they maybe aren't as red as we think. And these two states were actually Democratic states on the presidential level and could be Democratic states in the future. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch and then a playlist for my 2020 post-election videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all later today.